Hello, everyone. We have a word from our sponsor, so sit tight and we'll get to the cast. This summer has a high record heat. Walking outside has been rough. I personally walk outside and work outside for a living, and it has been rough out there this year. But one of the best ways I keep hydrated is with Liquid IV. You just rip a packet, add it to water, and drink it down. I personally like the watermelon flavor because it is actually really good compared to a lot of the sports drink I had, and it's not too sweet, which is nice. Another thing that's really nice about it is 3 times more electrolytes, which I always seem to be struggling, especially in this heat. So 3 times more is very noticeable on those hot days. So you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code NERDBS at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code NERDBS at liquidiv.com. Remember, all lowercase, and thank you for listening. And now let's move to the cast. Oh, wow, you made it after that advertisement we had. Isn't that crazy? I'm excited. I'm sorry. That was really weird and forced. I hope it sounded good, and I hope it didn't immediately deter you. If so, you made it, and we're in another episode of Nerd BS. We are in episode 11 of season 2. It is the 8th of August. So if you hear us say any dates or days or whatever, it's the 8th of August. It's Tuesday. So that's where our ground is. But I'm here right now with Kyle. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing well. How are you, Alan?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. After we did all that, that's really exciting. So, but
it is. It is exciting.
Yes, it's really exciting.
We obviously, we don't make any money off this. This is something we've been doing for fun, but we've got a sponsor now. Anything that comes for that is just going to be put right back into this stream. So it is exciting. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. Got lots of goals, so we'll see if this helps obtain those. But how have you been this last week? Like, have you done anything? Played any games? Watched any movies? I mean, we did see a little movie, but we'll talk about that later.
We did see a little movie. Yeah, I've been watching. We'll talk. I did play a game that we'll talk about in a little bit. I've been watching a show called, I almost forgot, The Shrink Next Door on Apple TV, because last time we talked about how I got Apple TV and all the subscriptions that add up, and I have it for 3 months, so I'm really just trying to pump through whatever they got, and I watched the show called The Morning Show.
Yes,
that has you've heard of this?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds familiar.
The first season's good, and I'm starting to see a trend. And I'm a little nervous about it, is that Apple TV has these like phenomenal first seasons of shows, and then some of the second seasons are like a complete 180, and I can't watch them at all.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen with Ted Lasso, and I've had that happen now with The Morning
Show.
Oh,
that's upsetting.
Where I can't even make it through the first episode of season 2. It's like, what happened? So anyways, I've been watching a show called The Shrink Next Door with Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd, and I'm hooked. And I'm about to finish season 1 about a therapist played by Paul Rudd who is trying to give therapy to Will Ferrell, and there's a lot of unhealthy boundaries, and it's a little dark. It's a little like twisted, not like gory or anything, just like how people can take advantage of one another using the psyche, and I'm loving it. And it's like coming to a point where it's like this better have a good ending, because you just start feeling for like the little guy. So yeah, I've been really, my wife had jumped in on that one too. She started enjoying it.
That's always fun,
right? Yeah, we were watching that together, and we're like, and last night we stayed up till midnight.
Oh no,
which is wild for her. I stay up late. Well, when we're not working, like on the weekends and stuff, I stay up pretty late, usually past that. But for her, that's a big deal. That's how like invested she is, right?
That's cool. Yeah,
she's like, I need to know what happens. So
yeah, that's always hard for me and my wife. I mean, we found shows we've enjoyed in the past, and there's still a couple that we just haven't finished because we kind of forget about them, or because we miss so many times where we were supposed to get together because we get busy. And then it's like a good example is like Karate Kid. Like we were watching Karate Kid pretty religiously, and then we fell behind, and then we had a bunch of family members telling us to watch it again, and so we finally just started getting caught up, and then we just fell off entirely, and we still haven't finished that one. And we keep, every once in a while we flirt the idea like, hey, you wanna watch Karate Kid? And then we're just kind of like, let's do something else. So that just kind of happens.
We don't have a lot of shows where we're like, we both have to watch it together, right? Like, because we do the same thing, and it's kind of come to a point where it's like, all right, I'm invested in her show. Like she watches anything with Gordon Ramsay, right? And usually it's like whatever, but the shows where they like eliminate people, like I get kind of invested in. But I don't watch every episode, and then sometimes she just tells me, "Hey, by the way, that person got eliminated." I'm like, "Oh, good. I hated that person." So
nice.
And, and that's how we do it. That way, we keep moving through the shows, we finish it, and it kind of works out better that way.
Yeah, it can be tricky.
And like you mentioned this earlier, like movies. Though we sit down and watch movies together. We did that with Mario Bros. And funny enough, she fell asleep, but she actually went back and finished it. Like she was like, I want to see what happens. So that's how you know it was good.
Nice. Well, I have been watching.
Have you watched anything?
I was just about to dive into Futurama. I've been keeping up with it. I don't know if there's another new episode, but I have been keeping up with it. I wasn't really. I don't know why the first episode kind of. Maybe I have to watch it again. I don't know. I wasn't vibing with it, but the second episode was a pretty heavy callback, which was really cool. And so I really enjoyed that episode a lot more. So I'm hoping it just kind of goes up.
Why didn't they put that in the first episode?
Well, I think they were trying to because the whole first episode's an entire episode on binging. They kind of make fun of binge culture, which it's interesting, and it's a decent episode, but it's still not amazing. But the second episode I liked a lot better, which is more dealing with, if you don't remember, Amy Wong and her alien husband, I can't remember his name right now, have children, and then they go back into the swamp. And so this next episode is basically directly ties with that, because in that episode they said in 20 years they're going to be ready for, being kids or real kids. And so this is, since it's been 20 years since that episode, they actually released an episode calling back to it, which is really cool. So that was really fun.
I do love when the shows do that, right? Especially like reboots, because this is not a reboot, but
it's kind of I don't know what you'd call it. It's not a reboot. You're right. It's
because they're not starting over.
Just a continuation, but a resurrection.
They're bringing it back,
something like that.
Yeah.
So and it works.
Kif,
that's his name.
She's
there you
married to
go.
Kif.
It's in my head. I kept going back and forth between different names. I was like, I just can't put my finger on it right now. But yeah, Kif is the alien. He has he has no bones. Is all the joke, and he can turn camouflage and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, he's an interesting character.
He talks very softly.
Yes, exactly.
My voice is too deep. It's too deep to do it. But yeah, it's very soft and gentle.
That sounds about right.
I'm gonna check it out. It did start popping up. I remember last time we talked about their kind of lack of advertising.
It's a little weird
for it. But it started popping up on Hulu for us. So
good.
I want to go watch it. I'm going to check it out. So how far into it?
I think there's only been 2 episodes. There might have been a third. I haven't paid attention. I mean, I may have to go check it out again. I'm not sure exactly when they get released, but they are doing a weekly thing.
I'm Yeah, I've been on the Apple TV, like binging entire
Yeah.
seasons for a month now, and so I'm so used to just the whole thing coming out at once. I'm like, oh yeah, weekly episodes. What is this? 1993? Come
Does
on.
make it easier to keep up for sure. I mean, I know when I've binged a season and
Right.
then
No.
a year goes by and I have no idea what I watched when the next season comes out. I don't know what
Oh
happened.
gosh. Yeah. Okay. Side note. I don't know if you remember we had the what are the kids called at my wedding? We had the kids that throw the
Flower
flowers.
Girls?
Yeah, and we had I have some nephew, a niece and a nephew, and we had both of them. We had one do the ring.
Yeah.
Right, the kid. They were twins, right? So the boy held the ring, and the girl was a flower girl. But I don't know if you were there, if you remember this, but they came over and we were getting dressed, right? And they had to get their suit and tie on and all that. And our nephew my nephew, sorry, was with us getting ready. And then I was like, dude, why do you look so tired? He's like, oh, I stayed up all night watching Stranger Things because Stranger Things had just dropped. I was like, dude, the whole season? He's like, yeah, all last night. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, like, this is an important day for me. I'm a grown up, right? Like, we're doing this because we love you, but you could be replaced. Like,
Could be replaced.
they did. It's late notice, but I could find another kid. They were fine, but it was like, dude, you can't watch a whole season in one night.
So much, yeah.
I have other things to think about right now.
We're gonna move past this. Hope everything goes good.
Yeah, and it worked out good.
It was.
It's a nice ceremony
for sure. All right. Well, I will say that all of our socials are down in the description, so you can check those out if you want to, including a link for whatever sponsor we have. But now we're going to move on to our stories. So I posted in Discord a little bit of a little picture. Me and Kyle and Tomas, who wasn't able to make it today, were able to go see Ninja Turtles, and not just separately, but together. It was actually really fun. I hope you had a good time, Kyle. I know I did.
It was a big deal for us, and yeah, I had a blast.
For those who don't know, it's very difficult to get together when you live in 3 different cities and all have your own lives. So it becomes rather difficult. But we made it happen. We got to see the Turtles movie. So what did you think? Why don't we start with that? I mean, we're not going to do spoils, just a heads up. We are going to talk some spoilers at the end. So if you want to stick around for that, we'll mention that instead of our soapboxes. But how did you feel about the new Ninja Turtles film?
So we talked about it a little bit last cast, I believe, and I had some mixed feelings about going into it. And I was excited just to see it with you guys. That probably made the difference for me. I think the animation just from the trailers was like enough for me to I want to see it. Right? Yeah. Like the animation is fantastic. It's very unique. It's very Spider-Man.
Yeah, so I wanted to, because I kept hearing people compare it to Spider-Man, and I guess it kind of is because it has the slower frame rate, I think is what it is, to make it so it looks a little wonky. But I would argue that it's a bit different than Spider-Man, because Spider-Man has more of a comic book look, and this one felt a lot more almost like claymation, or it kind of reminded me of Clone Wars. The newer stuff. It kind of gave me that kind of vibe because you could see the imperfections and the coloring and things like that. The things they left in there on purpose. There definitely was some differences with it with the animation because the scribbles around the lights and stuff, that was like a whole thing that I've never seen before. But definitely it just kind of had like this weird claymation style.
I think the scratches or the squiggles around the lights and stuff, that gave it more of a comic book feel to me. I think it's just, there might already be a name for this style of animation, and we just don't know it. But it's going to be in a lot more movies going forward, right? I think Puss in Boots kind of had that style in the latest movie. I haven't seen it, but from what I saw, it kind of had that same animation style. So whatever that is, right? Like, we don't need to compare everything to Spider-Man. It's going to be a lot of
For
movies.
your information, at least for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, there is no name for it. It just seems like there's just a new thing. It's technically CGI, but it's mixed. It's got its own flair. So
It's gonna need a name soon.
I'm sure they'll come up with something because we all knew. We all knew once Into the Spider-Verse started becoming as big as it was that more things were going to take inspiration from it.
Yeah, right. Like it's just gonna happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all those movies. I haven't seen the new Spider-Man, but it's got good reviews. And then even Puss in Boots got really good.
So wait, you said Puss in Boots was also in the same style?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The most recent one, which came out in the last year.
I knew there was a new one, but I just assumed it was going to be like in the same vein of Shrek and the other Shrek related movies. But I guess it was its own
thing.
They
changed the animation style.
Interesting.
To be more like that, and people were pleased. So, yeah, I mean, like that's one thing that studio does well. That Shrek studio, what is it? DreamWorks?
Yeah, DreamWorks.
They adapt, right? They don't get stuck. Like, hey, we've done Shrek. We know what we're doing. It's like, no, they need to adapt. They know how to move forward. And I like that animation. It grows on me. So that the movie had a lot of that, obviously, and so I appreciated that. Overall, I did not. Okay, I'll start with something I didn't like, and again, there's no spoilers. There will be at the end, and we'll give you a warning. I liked the main villain, but I didn't like the way he looked. I think he felt like an AI generated, like drawn, like animated character, because they had a lot of classic characters in there, which was great, and you could put your own flair on it. But like the new guy they got, I was like. And Ice Cube does the voice of him, and I thought he did
wonderful,
great.
Yeah, I think everybody did good voices except
the voices.
I didn't like Seth Rogen, and there was a couple other villains.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
they felt a little out of place.
A little tired of his voice, and I was kind of annoyed his voice was in it
because there's not a lot of. It's just one.
His voice.
He has the one thing.
Not like it looked like this time he did try to do something different. But it wasn't good enough, and after I hated him as DK. I'm gonna say right now, it was probably the worst part of that film. Him as DK was just bad. It just sounded.
It didn't fit.
No, it didn't at all, and it bothered me. And I guess it carried over to Bebop as well.
Luckily he wasn't as big of a character.
No, he had very few lines, which was nice.
And it's just very flat and dull.
Yeah,
like his voice. And I think, like I talked about this before, I'm not a big fan of his work anymore. I think he's good producer.
Yeah,
and writer.
This also had one of those intro things that I was talking about before. The intro, the thank you for coming to watch it in the movie theater, which was interesting.
Right.
And I could see passion. Like every time I've heard him talk about the Ninja Turtles, him doing Ninja Turtles, I could see passion. Like I wasn't sure if he was even going to be in it. I just thought he was just trying to resurrect the franchise.
Yeah, because I watched when I watched Mario Bros, it automatically played all the bonus content on the Blu-ray I have, and so it did and I was working, and so I had it on in the background, so I was just listening to all the voice actors interviews, and every time Seth Rogen came on, he was either dead tired, or he was just kind of like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And maybe that's him, I don't know, but like compared to all the other actors, it was just like, dude, do you not want to be here? Do you not want to be part of these interviews?
This is a check.
But for Turtles, like you said, even in the intros, like, oh, this guy, it does seem like he likes Turtles a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we don't have to talk about Seth Rogen that much anymore. I think on that lines though of you were talking about the villains, I think there's too many.
Yeah.
And again, we could talk more about that later, the specifics of it, but I think it was like, they didn't need that many. The ones, the main ones they had were like good, I didn't like the look of the main guy, and they set up the next movies, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Some of the characters that were in it, which was great. The Turtles themselves, I actually enjoyed. I thought the voices were good. They got like actual kids, teenagers to do it.
That was one of the first things I said when we got out of the theater. So I feel like this was the closest to actually having teenage turtles that I've seen. And I could be misremembering, but the old animated series, or the 2003, I think it is, the CG one. I think they did an okay job, but and I haven't watched all the series, but I did
I
feel
haven't
like
either.
this one was very close to teenagers.
Yeah, and I saw some interviews. They actually got kids to do it, and they had a good dynamic. They played well. They performed well with each other. So that was cool. Jackie Chan as Splinter was fun. And all this being said, it is a kids movie.
Yes.
So I'm still going to rate it and talk about it as, a 30-something-year-old male who grew up with turtles and had lots of expectations of what turtles should be. But that being said, I still take to the fact that it's a kids movie, and I'm pretty sure most kids are going to love this movie.
Yes, for sure. My son, who is the perfect demographic, he is 15 years old, so he was we made jokes afterwards, like they felt like you when we were watching it. But for sure, I agree wholeheartedly that this is probably a kids movie for sure, first and foremost. But it does a good job at being for everybody.
That being said, there was a lot of killing.
Yes, I know, and I remember you
and talking,
and stealing and stuff. I guess I would have always understood that the turtles steal. I mean, I've never really seen it before, but I guess it makes sense if nobody wants them to be around it. What other option do they have?
In the original movie, the live action movie, they did pay for that pizza, and I don't know if you or Tomas said it, but maybe it was Tomas. But he's like, how would they make money? And I was like, good question, because I don't know. But in this new movie, what's the subtitle? Mutant Mayhem?
Yeah.
I was like, there's so many ways, because they have cell phones and internet, so they could be making money online. So, but yeah, they didn't directly steal. They weren't like, hey, we're stealing this stuff, but they didn't make an emphasis of paying for pizza like they did in the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one thing, but just when they talked a lot about killing, and I think people actually got killed in this movie.
Yeah, it did feel that way when there was a fight sequence right close to the beginning, and it did feel that there was some killing involved because they had their weapons out and everything, and they didn't really show it on screen, but you did get that vibe for sure.
Right, and then the villains definitely.
I mean, they talk about killing quite a bit.
They did. I was almost going to spoil something, but yeah, they talked about it. But yeah, the villains definitely did. So
for sure,
I don't know.
Yeah,
it seemed a little. I was like, oh, maybe it's a little bit darker for a kids movie.
They definitely took liberties. I mean, I posted that article about
being. Yeah, I mean, you don't have much to worry about if you're a parent. It just seemed a little bit much that it was a little. They were a little frivolous, especially just using the word like kill. So I felt like the turtles' personalities too were really the differences were really good. So you had Leo, who's always been the leader. You've had Michelangelo, who's a little bit more tame. I feel like he's not such the party goof, and Donatello obviously was the nerd, and they literally made Raphael bigger and stronger because he's cool but rude. So I thought they did good with that. And this is, like you said earlier, they're definitely teenagers in this movie, and it's more of a coming of age rather than them already being superheroes, which is usually what the other shows and movies are about.
Yeah, for sure. And that was very nice about that. So you did kind of go through the turtles, but I was curious, what was your favorite turtle in this film compared to what your favorite turtle is before it, if they're the same or are they different?
Well, so I have to compare it to the OG live action one, because that's what I watched when I was a kid. And you mentioned this when we took that picture at the theater in front of all the turtles, and I was like, stand next to your favorite turtle, and you're like, well, we'd all have to stand next to Raphael. And I was like, that's true, because in that old school movie, that he was the coolest.
He's always.
Dude.
I won't lie. Even in the comics and everything, usually he's always kind of the most down to earth turtle. I guess that makes him more realistic.
Well, just he wants to do stuff, right? And I feel as guys, we're I want to just go in there and bash some heads too.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I just want to fight. I want strength. But I've always had an affinity for Leo.
Yeah.
Just like him trying to coordinate and use the team to their best ability. And again, like they did that pretty well with him growing into his leader role. And so I think Leo was actually my favorite.
This one?
In this one, yeah. Because like I said, Mikey was like they didn't do much with him.
No, he was probably the most disappointed of the Turtles, to be completely honest. Mainly just because he didn't feel as fun as I remember him being in other iterations.
Yeah.
And
they were all joking and silly.
Yeah, it's like he kind of lost his identity.
That way.
I mean, Donnie's always kind of been a little silly as well because he's nerdy, but then Leo's usually fairly serious, and same with Raph. But in this one, definitely it did get everybody was kind of silly, so it kind of muted Michelangelo as being the party guy.
Yeah. What about you? What was your favorite one?
I liked Raph, and I think I still liked Raph. I did like the growth with Leo for sure. I will say that, like I said earlier, Michelangelo was probably the weakest out of the four, maybe in this film. I hope that as they grow, they fall into the roles more, and maybe he just won't grow as much as everybody else, and maybe that'll become his thing. I didn't mind. I was a little worried about Donatello going in just because the voice was kind of off. It seemed off in the trailers, in my opinion. But in the film, he did prove me wrong. I did, after watching the film, his voice actually matched perfectly for what they were going for with that character. And so I thought it worked out really well. So I wasn't the wrong at the beginning. So I would have to say, like I said before, I think Raph was my favorite beforehand, and I think he was my favorite in this film as well. And I guess the next...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cast the voices well.
They did.
In this movie.
They did a really good job.
For the Turtles.
Yeah. There was a couple of them. I don't remember exactly which ones. I'm trying to look at them right now. I wasn't a huge fan of Leatherhead. It felt weird.
Oh yeah, I don't want to go into the villains yet. I feel like it's a little too much.
Okay, we'll stay away from a spoilery territory. I think all of them were announced, so we'll go with our villains.
I'm sure they are
villains at the end.
But here's the thing: I didn't know the full list going in when I saw it.
Okay.
I'm sure it has been announced, but I purposely don't watch as much, and I don't read up
trailers.
Yeah. I try not to. I should just say. So.
Yeah, I understand.
So, anyways, but
there was a lot of graphics online where they kept showing, because with a lot of these newer movies, especially the animated ones, because you can't see their faces, they do a lot of. This person's in it. This person's in it. Usually there's a list. Right. I think we saw one of those in the trailers of seeing this movie. There was a list of like, here's all the famous people in this movie, just so you know.
Right.
And so things like that. So this is no different. The Turtles, I don't think they're as big names, but the rest of them for sure are there's some big names in this film.
Yeah, they got actual kids to do the Turtles voices, which is cool. It stood out and it was good.
For sure. So with all that information, without going into spoilers, why don't we give our reviews? We have a very 5-point system. Love it, like it. It was okay. It was bad, or hated it. It kind of reminded me of Cold Stone. I don't know why. I just was thinking about that.
A little bit.
Maybe it's just 11 like it.
I guess I mentioned it earlier to you. I'm going to workshop it because I want this rating system. We want to keep it going, but maybe I need to make it a little bit more nerdy. So
yeah, there we go.
For today, this is what we got.
So if you had to give it a review, Kyle, what would you say?
I would give it right in the middle. It was okay for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really.
Do you have any reasonings, or are you just going to leave it there?
I'm trying to think without giving spoilers. Like I said, the villains were a bit of a letdown. There's a major point at the end that kind of just we'll talk about it later.
So we can come back to it when we get to it later.
So yeah, it was okay. And again, I'm rating it as a father who's grew up with Turtles, so I had a lot of expectations on it. Again, it's a kids movie. I think a lot of kids are gonna love it, but for me, it was okay.
Okay. I will like it. I like it a lot. I thought it was great. I thought it was a good start to this new Turtles franchise, because that's where it's going to go. It always goes to franchise. And as we talked in the movie a little bit, it's already been greenlit for another movie and greenlit for a show on Paramount Plus. So I think this is a good groundwork.
Yeah.
But I did with the writer. I was talking to my wife about it with the writer strike and the actor strike.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a while before we get anything, but it was greenlit. But still, I was like I said, I like it. I won't go to love it, and the reason is because I just don't think it was that good.
Yeah. Okay.
But for groundwork, it was really good, and I did enjoy it, and I definitely will watch it again. And I have hopeful expectations for the future of this franchise, for sure.
Yeah. With all of that stuff that you said's coming out, I'm hopeful as well. It was okay. So
understood.
We'll have to get to Moss's review.
We do,
next time.
And it was upsetting that he's not here tonight because I know he's also a big turtle head, and so I would really wanted to know a lot of his opinions. He has a different experience with the turtles, so it's always fun to hear his separate opinions. But maybe next time we'll have to see. But anyways, we will move on to some video games. I did get a new game. I posted it in Discord. I was really excited for it. For those who don't know, I am pretty big into Pikmin. I really like Pikmin. I actually had some points on my Nintendo Plus or Nintendo Club account, and I got the shoe decorations. They had Pikmin shoe jet decorations that you could put on Crocs. So I bought them. So I'm going to be really cool. Well, not bought them. I got them for free because they're rewards. And so I'm going to be really cool going around. I told my wife I need to go buy some green Crocs, so it makes sense now. So watch out for me coming around and check out my kicks. But anyways,
too hot to handle. What do you think of the game?
The game itself, though, has been fantastic. I probably only put a couple hours in, and my son had played it a lot before me, and he was loving it. I was not too thrilled with the dog stuff, but it's growing on me. But it is still, so there's like this dog you get. It's not really a spoiler. It's pretty quick in the game, and it's kind of been all the promotion and everything. Right. But they added kind of a Poochie. I think it's Poochie is the Yoshi dog. He basically looks very similar to Poochie, but he does good. You can ride him. You can not from the Simpsons. Poochie from Yoshi. Yoshi has Yoshi, Yarn Yoshi, and he was also in Yoshi's Island for a bit too.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. I knew you were going to go there because that's what I said at first, because every time I say Poochie, I immediately assume it's the Simpsons one, but I know there's also the Yoshi one too.
Yeah,
I always forget about.
Because they have the super hard amiibo, or super hard to find amiibo.
Really? I have it. I bought it, so I love those yarn ones. So
I did. Yeah, he's a rare one for sure.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I remember I bought it.
He looks a little different, but it's along the lines. Okay, I see.
It's also the yarn ones too, and I like the yarn ones because they're light, and I can put them on my Christmas tree. I do that every year.
That's a great idea. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I got little.
They work well because they are so light. Yeah,
I have little Santa hats
you can put
too.
Santa hats on them or something.
I just put a little bit of hot glue on there. Oh,
there you go.
Hey, let's dive into our crafting section of Nerd BS. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
That's a good idea. That's cool.
Yeah, but anyways, it's super fun. I've been enjoying it. It's Pikmin. It's more Pikmin. So if you like Pikmin, you'll like it. And I was debating with my son earlier. He swears they're all connected. I think that's baloney. I assume there's some connection.
Are you still?
But it's like most Nintendo games.
Olimar or Captain Olimar?
No, you actually make your own character this time. It has a character creation, so it's a little different.
It's not connected.
And there's
no lore.
I think it's. I feel like there is lore that people have created. It's like Zelda. When they made that lore book, that was basically a lot of fan theories that they decided to adopt.
Exactly.
I didn't feel like they ever had a plan to make a lore book. Even Miyamoto originally said that they were separate stories, and why does anybody care about that kind of stuff? A long time ago. I won't find the quote here, and I probably butchered it, but it was similar.
And I totally agree. Like, come on. It's clearly they're not connected.
Yeah,
now,
it doesn't matter.
They're connecting them now. If we're talking about Zelda real quick, and maybe they're going to do this with Pikmin, but yeah, people love that canon and the lore stuff. I did hear a funny rumor, and I've been to look it up before this, but it apparently didn't do too well when it first came out, and I think they need to give it some slack because Tears of the Kingdom had only been out for 2 months, and I was even struggling because I wasn't even going to buy it because I had Diablo 4 and Final Fantasy 16 that I haven't even gone through.
So there's just too much out.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
these game developers need to understand that there's just too much to play.
It's kind of,
and people don't have the time.
it's almost to Nintendo's detriment that they made Zelda too good, because people are still playing it. And it's like, oh, well, Pikmin came out. Like, well, I'm still playing Zelda. Like,
yeah, that's kind of what I went, because I was like, I'll just wait for Christmas. I'll put it on my Christmas list or something, because I don't need it right now. I have too much to play. Yeah, whatever. I did pick it up, so I supported it. Make more Pikmin.
Do they have co-op in this one?
So I think there is. Yes, there is same console co-op.
Oh, same console.
I have not. And there's no online. There's not even amiibo support, which actually frustrated me a little bit, because I do have the 2 amiibos.
Yeah, what the heck?
Pikmin.
That's surprising.
So it's really bizarre that they. Yeah, it is.
That's weird.
And
how do you do that, Nintendo?
Yeah. And the co-op is, unless it's different than what it's described as, but it's described as, let me put it this way. Do you remember playing Mario Galaxy?
Yeah. Oh, with the co-op?
Do you remember playing co-op?
Yeah, where the second person just collects stars, basically. Or,
they collect stars. In this one, it looks like they can buff you and they can throw rocks.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, okay, that's...
It's not full co-op.
Yeah, I want to say there's a versus mode too, so you can battle each other, kind of. I think, but I'm gonna have to look into that. So don't hold my word on that one. But I do know the co-op because it was offered to me, so I looked into it just a little bit, and I was kind of like, oh, this looks silly. I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. It is drop in, drop out. So maybe if you have a partner or somebody who doesn't really play video games and wants to hang out with you, they can at least do that and just kind of help you out. But still,
they are releasing the old ones, right? 1 and 2. Yeah.
They already released them.
Oh, they are?
Because it's a big deal. Yeah, they already released them. They're on the store already. You can buy them. They was on the way towards Pikmin 4. Gotcha. They released the first 2.
On Switch.
I understand they were on Switch. They were a little up-res, and they swapped out all the brand names for fake brand names.
That's right. That's what I saw.
So
there's no more...
It was kind of
there's no
Duracell.
Yeah.
Like that. So take it as you will. I don't think it really matters that much. Some people are really complaining about it.
No. Whatever. It's weird, but it makes sense. Like, but there is true co-op in Pikmin 2 at least.
In some of the older ones, at least 3 has it. I know 3 had some sort of co-op motion.
I'm pretty sure 2 did too.
I know 2 also had one too. I will say one thing that was kind of annoying, and this is a personal issue with it, and it's really the Switch's limitations, because the pointer control is completely stripped out. They took it out entirely.
What?
And apparently they also took it out of 1 and 2. So on the Wii and the Wii U version of Pikmin 3 and the Wii version of Pikmin 1 and 2, they added support to where you could use the Wiimote as like a mouse.
Right.
And then you could just like point it around and throw your Pikmin in those different areas. And that was fantastic, in my opinion, the best way to play Pikmin.
This game was made for that.
Yes, it was
right,
perfect.
All the complaints that the Wiimotes get about that, no, this game actually works with that.
Yes, so that's completely stripped out. They stripped out of 1 and 2 as well. It's still in 3, but at the same time, have you personally, Kyle, have you ever actually used a Switch controller to point at a TV and use it kind of like a Wiimote? Have you ever done that before?
So yes. Because they have Cabela's hunting games, and I have I have the rifle that you can attach it to, and and it works really well. I mean,
really, maybe I need to get an attachment or something, because I have House of the Dead the 1 and 2 collection that they made.
Yeah.
And that one works like trash. It was awful. I tried to play it with at a family place, and it was like, I was so excited because I think I have a House of the Dead. I also have both the Resident Evil Dark Side.
Oh, right.
Dark Side trilogy.
Chronicles.
Yeah. Those games are fantastic on the Wii. I love those games. I even bought little guns for them and everything, and those are amazing. The Wii was perfect for light gun games. Yeah. It was just fantastic. But then when I played it on the Switch, I was just completely annoyed and kind of bummed out because I was like, you can't really play it this way. I'm going to have to do it with the controller, and it's just not the same.
It's
So
not.
I'm glad to hear that one works.
That one does.
But that's just upsetting.
That one does work, and there's another game I'm forgetting, but one of the things that like they perfected is in Zelda, and it's not, you're not pointing, but it's the gyroscope effect where
Yes.
like that, like just because like you use the sticks, I almost 100%, like 99% of the time in Zelda for me. But then when you're aiming, just that little, like, I'm just going to tweak it, 1 degree this way. And
my son thinks I'm crazy because I love that. I love it. And I enjoy, because it was also in the Wii versions of Wind Waker, or the Wii U versions of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
Had the same thing.
Yeah.
So I loved that. And on the Switch, they do a really good job with it. That's one thing. And both Breath of the Wild and Twilight and Tears of the Kingdom, I completely agree. They're fantastic to control. The controls in this game work really well. So I will give them that. And Splatoon does a good job with it too.
Yes.
I know you guys,
Splatoon did. Yeah.
But it's really good.
As far as like directly
maybe those are
pointing,
minor adjustments or something. I don't know. Maybe that's
directly pointing. Yeah, it's not a whole lot, but I have used it, and it is for the light gun games. I do remember when House of the Dead came out. I was really excited, and the reviews just trashed it because of the motion controls.
Well, maybe there's an update. I'm gonna look into it now because I really hope they updated it and tried to fix it.
Yeah.
It needs it. It's decent looking too. It's a decent looking game. It looks like it'll be fun. I mean, it's just like arcade games, but it's just once you remove the light gun aspect, it's just not as interesting anymore.
It's a whole different game, right? Like you're just playing with a controller, which is like, okay.
Yeah, what's the point?
Okay, I guess. Yeah, exactly. So,
Anyways, but you've been on to something. Why don't you go into that? I think we talked about a little bit last cast, but here we go.
Yeah, I finished the game Blasphemous again. Man, I went deep into the lore on this one. And and I really, because like there's so much it's confusing, right? Especially when you in between pieces of lore. And it's like Dark Souls because you get the lore when you pick up items and when you talk to NPCs. And so there's, a lot of time where you're just dying in between the pieces of lore that you forget. Like I don't know what happened. So, but I started watching YouTube videos where someone just explained the whole story. I beat the game on Xbox this time. So now...
wow. Okay, that's right. Because you beat it on PS4, 5, and then you also beat it on Switch. So this time Xbox, huh?
And this time on Xbox, yeah. And I'm debating, because number 2 isn't out yet, I'm debating whether or not to get all the achievements. And I've gotten... there's nice. One more really difficult achievement, but the rest, there's only like 3 or 4 that are pretty easy and attainable. So I'm debating like getting them all again because I love this game. It's incredible, and now that I know the story too, like a little bit more, it's like even better. And just the aspects of like the real life influences they have from religion is so fascinating to me. It's wild. I think
that's
cool. And the video I watched was like, Blasphemous is a perfect game, and here's why. And I was like, yeah, I agree with every single point made in this video. The story.
I hope you like the second one, because like I did something like I believe Default, but those are like 100-hour games though. But I beat that the first time, and then I beat it a second time, waiting for the second one, and then I did. And that's I don't know if you've ever played that one, but that's like 100-hour game. So
I know of it.
I think it burned me out because I never beat the second one because it just got burned out, I think.
I bet.
But anyways, Blasphemous. So what were you saying about the more lore and stuff? What were you
the story is so unique, right? It's not a rinse and repeat. Go save the princess. It's not an anime story. It's very religious, and it's so unique, and there's still so much mystery shrouded in this, which just gives them. And what's cool about the game is that in the first one, the DLC was all completely free, and the DLC added to the story, which led way to the game number 2, right? So if you beat the game, like the base vanilla game, it's very confusing. Like, what the heck what is happening? But if you go back and beat the DLC, it gives you more to the story, and you find out more about what they call the miracle, which is like their god. And you're just like, okay, what the heck? So now you know more, but then it just leads to number 2, which is finally coming out. All that to say, I beat it, and I'm a little bit proud of it because it's notoriously difficult, and I beat it fairly easy without a guide. I just kind of went through it, and then there was a couple bosses I didn't even run into last time, right? Like DLC bosses that are optional. You don't need them for achievements. You don't need them to get the platinum trophy. And I just ran into them not knowing they were there. It was like such a nice, frustrating, but nice surprise. So I can't recommend this game enough if you like Castlevania of any way, or you want a 2D Dark Souls. Yeah, nice. I also played another game that is not a 2D game called Ultra Age this week. This would be our Indie of the Week. We haven't had an Indie of the Week. It's also a very affordable game. It's $30 on Nintendo Switch. I believe it's on PC as well. But it's called Ultra Age. It's kind of Final Fantasy, like a modern Final Fantasy light. You got a big giant sword that you upgrade, and you're beating up, techno bad guys. Not super deep. Combat's pretty good, pretty fluid. The character looks like he could be in the Final Fantasy universe that's currently happening. But I enjoyed it for the price. It's $30. It goes on sale often. Called Ultra Age. I haven't beat it. I haven't gone through it. I've been going between that and Blasphemous. And so if you're looking for like something like that, like a Final Fantasy light, like a modern Final Fantasy, Ultra Age is... Yeah. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It looks really cool. I mean, it looks like it could be a really fun game. I haven't played it though. Only $30. Not too bad. Not even on sale. Just on a regular $30 price. So not so bad.
Definitely worth it. I always like to try to shout out the developers at least. But
I was just looking at it. It is Dangan Entertainment. They look like they made quite a few other little smaller games.
Yeah. This is one of their bigger titles in my opinion, because I haven't heard of their other stuff, but this one's one of their best ones. I mean, I haven't played any of their other stuff.
You haven't played any others, but this one in particular is good. And if this one's good, they might have other good ones. Perfect. So check them out. All right. Well, now I think it's time for us to move into the bit of spoilers we can talk about for TMNT. So if you don't want to listen to spoilers, stop here and we'll see you next time. Or stop here and come back and listen to it after you watch the movie.
Use that code from our sponsor.
Yes, use the code. Get some of that delicious stuff. Anyways. So TMNT, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. We saw it on Monday.
Just yesterday.
Not as hot as normal.
Actually. Not too bad.
It was not so bad, yeah. It was hotter the day before, because I remember we were actually in that same shopping center. And we were complaining pretty heavily, and so I stopped at Bahama Bucks because I love their ices.
Yeah, we did the indoor playground on Sunday, because... You literally can't touch the outside playgrounds. Yeah,
we walked inside and we're just like, ugh. And what was really bad is I went down for work and I had to take my truck and it doesn't have AC. So we just had the windows down. I was like, this is awful. Which is part of the reason why I went to Bahama Bucks, because I'm getting a little icy. I need to cool off. I need something. But we saw it and it was pretty nice, and the film was really good. So we ended with our favorite villain. So why don't we talk about the ending and what you had issues with, Kyle? What did you feel
there was too many villains, right? So Bebop and Rocksteady were in there. Yeah, they were. It was. They could have taken out like 3 or 4, and I think it would have been way better.
Yeah, I had a hard time remembering which ones there were. I had to go look it up. I was like, they tried to jam them all in,
right?
Which I get. Yeah, they were cool looking, and which I get because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't think a lot of people realize how big of a rogues gallery they have, because most people only know like Shredder and Krang, but they don't really know a lot of all these other little ones like Leatherhead or Bebop and Rocksteady is more popular with the little ones.
Dude, I don't know. I think fans do. Like the old school fans like us, we remember them. I had all the toys. I had most of those toys.
I had a lot of toys.
And so, yeah, those I think those guys were great. They look cool. Like the changes they made were fine. My complaint again with the Superfly, the main villain, I think it was great. I think it was very creative that it wasn't Baxter Stockman, even though I would rather have Baxter Stockman. This was fine. A good compromise. It honestly looked like they put, hey, make a giant fly monster into an AI generator, and that's what you get. It's so generic, so bland, compared to the other villains who were so unique and had that flair, like Bebop and Rocksteady, which those two are just so iconic. Like, why not just use those two?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was like, it was just too much at the end. I was like, they were all generic characters, but all of them are like common names to old school Turtle fans. But they became generic because it was like, there's like 12. I think I went to the bathroom and I came back and I was like, there's a frog? I remember asking you guys, like, there's a frog? When did the frog get here?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. I was like, I missed that part. So
yeah, it's a bit much, and I agree with you. I mean, a lot of these smaller characters probably wouldn't be in a movie anyways.
Maybe.
I'm a little curious to see where they go from here, because if you see the film, I mean, with spoilers obviously, but they all kind of live together at the end or whatever, and Bebop and Rocksteady are good guys. It's like, okay, well, these smaller villains, what makes them special is they're good villains for like an episode of the show.
For the show, yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, I get they don't deserve their own movie. They don't need their own movie, but now they're supposedly not villains. So what does that even mean? Like, what villains are going to have in the show now?
The way they churned from villains was just like so ridiculous. Remember, the Turtles were like, you guys could live with us. And they're like, really? That's it? And then they immediately all churn on the guy that's been raising them their whole life. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, again, it's a kid's movie, but I was like, that point for me made me going from liking it to like, okay, it's okay. Like, because they were doing so good with the rest of the story. And then it almost been like, oh yeah, we need to do something with these villains because Superfly is too strong. And it's like, they could have just had Splinter come in and beat up. Anyways, that part bugged me when they all just were like, oh, we're going to churn on this guy that raised us. Like, maybe half of them churn. You know, it just didn't make sense.
Maybe having them turn, maybe they go away. Like, maybe they're like, oh, I don't believe this guy, but I'm not going to fight him either. Like, it makes sense. I mean, it would have been nice to have some of them because, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I'm used to like Bebop and Rocksteady working with Shredder and stuff like that. And we got teased
that would have been
Shredder
perfect.
too.
They're like, hey, I'm out,
and now
I'm out, and then they cling over. They cling to Shredder though. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been better. Yeah. And maybe they rewrite it where that happens. But yeah, when they're all living together, it was like it wasn't
kind of weird. Yeah. Again, it's a happy ending, but if you're trying to do a sequel and stuff, this kind of doesn't really work. So then
you lose all those villains in one go. Iconic Bebop and Rocksteady and Leatherhead and
even though they were lightly hinted on, were there any of them that stood out to you that you enjoyed the most? Like, is there a character or one of the villains that you enjoyed more than the other ones? I was going to ask.
We kind of complained about Seth Rogen, but I liked it, and I've been talking about them, but I really like Bebop and Rocksteady. Those two are just like staples of Turtles, and I wanted to see more of them. I wanted to see their personalities and I thought that just having those two henchmen would have been enough rather than having a whole family. Not really, because there was just too many. Like the Manta Ray was kind of cool. The Bat had some moments. Not really, because there's just too many. What about you?
I thought Mondo Gecko was interesting. I mean, he's probably one of the more out of the little ones that got a little more screen time. And I thought he was funny. It was Paul Rudd, obviously.
It was not obvious.
He was an interesting. I thought he was an interesting character, and that one makes sense for me.
But
it was very obvious. But that makes sense for me because he as Mondo Gecko, that makes sense that he would be allies with the Turtles because he has been in the past as well. And the way they showed him, it made sense for that.
It didn't need to be all of them. But not all that was so weird. We were talking about. Yeah, I guess if some of them broke away, they kind of had some semi-allies that would help them every once in a while. I was surprised that Casey Jones wasn't in there at some point because.
Yeah, I remember there was a point where one of the New Yorkers reaches out.
I thought for sure. I was like,
Casey Jones.
Wrong.
I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, you convinced me for that minute. Second. I was like, well, maybe that'd be interesting, but
I'm
no,
kind of glad
we're not dabbing into him yet. I get it. Yeah.
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah. It would have been a weird squeeze.
I'm surprised
that
they did it because they put so many characters in there. Let me ask you this: what did you think of Superfly?
I enjoyed Superfly.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, he is a unique character. He's not from the previous iterations. Baxter Stockman does become a fly at some point, but not in this film. In other iterations, so this is its own unique thing, which is cool. I kind of like the so I really like the setup on the on Splinter and stuff like that. That was actually really cool. I feel like that was done well. Yeah, I thought that was done well. We didn't get into Hamada Yoshi or anything like that, which was probably fine. I mean, I kind of like the idea of instead of, for an example, in the comics, I really like the comics that I'm going into. This is the IDW. I think it started in 2018 run that I've been reading recently, and they do this whole thing where it's kind of spoilers. It's pretty old now. Well, they're all based off of, they're basically reincarnations of other people. It's a family of the father and their 4 kids, and they're reincarnations of them, which is a little off to me. I mean, it's fine, but it's just like that's how they describe it. And so it's like okay, but so this one was more realistic, I feel. It was just like a rat in the city gets the ooze on him, finds the turtles. Right. Turtles put the ooze on him as well, not on purpose. And then they all become the mutants, and then he teaches them basis off learning Jackie Chan films, which I thought was silly.
I was
but also
following
it was
up until that point where it's like we just learned karate to defend ourselves. I was like, oh, okay, like all right. I kind of like the other story better, where he was influenced by his master. And
I feel like the movie did it. Probably one of my favorite ones. Where he was basically he was kind of doing a revenge thing for his owner, his master, his person that raised him. You know, he's a pet, and then he learned off of him. I thought that was actually really cool. It was a little far-fetched, but at the same time, at least it made sense. And so he still had the connection to Madayoshi and everything like that. Whereas this one, like I said, he wasn't even mentioned. Like I did, I don't know if he's even going to be mentioned in the whole. To me, that was just some holes in the writing. Whole series.
That part and like the ending villain part. Because I was like up to it too. Yeah, the rat just finds him and takes him in as his family, and they even try to go out into the real world, but they're shunned. So they learn karate. It's like, a little tongue in cheek. They're watching Jackie Chan movies, but. Yeah, I get it. April O'Neil's entrance was
fun, though.
Different. I don't know. It was okay. She's also a teenager.
I always feel weird when they try to make any humans romantically interested with the turtles, and she wasn't.
Leo was,
but Leonardo was. That always makes me feel odd because they are turtles at the end of the day, and I get it. It's still weird. Like Raphael has always had. He has an off and on thing in the comics and shows with this. It's like a lizard named Mona Lisa and things like that. And that kind of makes sense. But like when they're trying to, I always feel weird. That's one thing about the turtles. I've always felt weird whenever they try to make a romantic relationship with one of the turtles in April. Because it's like, okay, we're kind of, there's some problems here without getting weird. But it is just a show at the end of the day.
The amount of they were doing it with too. Like it was like as soon as Leo saw her, that's all he talked about. And I was like, okay, that's a little.
Yes.
So much.
I guess I get it. And they did make it so April obviously wasn't interested, and she seemed like she wasn't interested at all, which is fine. And so it's definitely, but who else is he going? Splinter even says it early in the movie, like who else am I gonna, what are the odds of me finding anybody I can have a romantic relationship with in this world? So it's just not going to happen. Funny joke, which is sad. That's
they don't have a mutants looking for other mutants app. I check every day. I was like that. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I check every day.
Yeah, so that part was like, I felt like unnecessary because it wasn't reciprocated. So it was like, why even do it? Like. It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. I was fine with him having a crush on her, but I feel like I shouldn't have gone much further than that. But it tried to a little bit. It wasn't like a lot. It was just a little bit. It was just Just a little thing at the end. It was no big deal.
No, I felt the same way.
I'm probably blowing it a little bit out of proportion.
It was a little much.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing came of it, so I was like, all right, whatever. Yeah, I thought...
And it's a kid's show. Nothing's going to come from it. How did you...
Oh, yeah.
How did you feel about the kaiju stuff at the end?
It was all right. I mean, I'm getting a little tired of that, of the ultimate boss ending that way. And again, like, they just literally slap all the animals together to create a giant enemy, and I was like,
yeah,
I mean, it's fine.
That's true. I do like in other iterations how they kind of are more creative with the ooze. This one is just like you slap it on an animal, it becomes an animal. It becomes a humanoid animal. It's like, okay, like in I forget which iteration they did that with. They did. The turtles were obviously turtles and they became, the mutants. But like Bebop and Rocksteady were created with Shredder's help and things like that. Like there was more steps to things and more creativity with it. And then there's some that are aliens and things like that. So they kind of mix it up. It's not just you're all just based off the ooze. So, and I guess that's fine.
It's going to be different. But they don't explain it, right? And it's just kind of a little bit lazy writing as we're talking about. I'm kind of realizing like it's not as good of writing as I thought maybe when I first watched it. A little bit lazier.
Yeah. It was, we are kind of knocking on it a little bit, but I really did enjoy it. And I'm picking at it because I always pick at it. Turtles are a big, I really like the Ninja Turtles. I always have. And so I'm going to pick at it. I still really enjoyed
how big of a franchise
I still will say
it just had a really successful game, like what do we call it? Reboot of it.
Oh God, yeah, Shredder's Revenge. I love Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah.
I'm waiting every day for the DLC.
So in this movie, it takes
it's
a different course in their reboot of it. So yeah, we're gonna nitpick it. At the end of the day, it's a kids movie. It doesn't bother me that much. You said you would watch it again.
I still liked it. I won't say otherwise. I still enjoyed a lot of it. I loved the colors. I loved the action in it. Was really good. I loved that they used their weapons. I thought it was really fun. I loved their dynamic amongst each other, besides the little problem I had with Michelangelo. I felt all the kids did really good at their voices. Most of the star-studded cast did okay. There's a couple of outliers that I remember being kind of little issues that didn't feel exactly like they synced very well. But I still, maybe with a bit more dialogue, it would have been better. But at the same time, with the little bits we got, I wasn't impressed by some of them. But the Turtles, that's what matters, and I thought they were great. So that's where I'm going to sit with it. I still really liked it. I still will watch it again, and I'm really excited to where it goes.
It was okay.
Any final thoughts, Kyle?
You summed it up pretty well, I think. And I am hopeful to see where it goes, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I purchased the Blu-rays of the original movies. And they're in the mail because it's a good little. They have all three. I have those too. I probably won't watch number 3 ever, but
I rewatched it. It doesn't hold up very well. I mean, even 2 doesn't hold up as well because I remember really liking 2 when it came out, but then after rewatching it, especially after the first one, I'm just like, okay, I can see the problems now that I was missing as an innocent child.
It was a cash grab for sure. But they don't even use their weapons like way less in number 2 because of the complaints from parents, and it was like but we did get Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go. So we can never discredit that part of it.
We did.
But yeah, again, kind of like we talked about with Hellboy, that recent Hellboy movie, it kind of made me just want to watch the old school movies, so that's what I'm going to do.
Good. I hope you enjoy it. The first 2 still hold up pretty well. Like I said, the first one, phenomenal. I will never say otherwise. That movie is great. They did a really good job with that. There's a lot of love and care in that film.
Yeah.
Second one, like you just said, cash grab. It's still good. It's just not as good. You can definitely tell the soul's been a little chipped off there in it. But anyways, I think that about rounds it up. Unless you have anything else to say, I think we're pretty good on the Turtles talk. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time, and hopefully 2 weeks. All right, later.